Here.
Tricia Kaminsky. Here. Aaron Novak. Jonathan Thurber.
Here.
Thank you.
The emergency exits are behind us, to your left and right.
Can you turn it back on?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, we're good. Review and approval of board agenda. Can I get a motion that after review, the Board of Education approves the agenda as presented and or amended at this meeting? Motion, please. John, second. Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes of December 12, 2022. A motion to accept the minutes of December 12, 2022 business meeting as presented. Motion, please. Dave, second. Michelle, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Minutes of December 19, 2022. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of December 19, 2022 special business meeting as presented? Motion, Michelle, second. John, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Statements and presentations.
Good evening. Good evening. Greetings and salutations. Hello, everybody, and happy 2023 to everybody. I'd like to start off my presentation by calling up one of our second grade students, Angel Carrick. Oh, Angel, you can come all the way up here to me.
Okay, that's where my vote will be.
That's where most people go, but you get to come to a special place up by me. That's okay. So, Board of Education members and community, this is Angel Carrick, and I got a special letter from him. I think he wrote it last year, but I got it from Mom in the fall, asking for something. So, Angel, do you want to talk about what you would like to ask for?
I would join the bike rack so I can ride my scooters to school and bike. But in last year I could ride my bike to school, but it would be more work for my mom. And I want those days back, but I want some less work for my mom.
So when he was riding his bike to school, his mom would have to then take the bike and walk it back home because there was no place for him to leave his bike safely at school. And so Angel is asking that he be able to ride his bike to school and kind of leave it there for the day and then ride it home in the afternoon and make a little bit less work for Mom. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And where do you think we should put the bike rack? Do you think we should put it in the middle of the playground or in the back of the school or the front of the school? Where do you think it should go?
In my imagination, I thought it would be in the middle front of the school, like by the library, like that part.
Okay, over by the library. So we will absolutely look at some different places around the school building. We'll work with Mrs. Connolly and Mr. Porras at facilities to locate a good location for it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. So I found a bike rack that I thought might work. I believe it can hold 7 or 9 bikes. And that way, because I have a feeling that if Angel starts riding his bike, that other kids are going to start riding their bike to school. So we wanted to get a bike big enough that it could have a few. Does this look like a good bike rack to you?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to ask the board members if they would agree to buy one?
Can you guys buy a bike rack for the students?
I think we can handle it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. Great job.
So congratulations, you just affected some change at your own school. We will make sure that it's in place by the time the weather warms up, so that when the weather warms up and it's bike riding season again, you can ride your bike to school. Sound good? All right. Thank you, Amy. How awesome is that? I thought it was really neat that he took the initiative to write me a letter. It says to the intendant. Took out the super. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. And then really wants me to get a bike rack. So congratulations, Angel. And thank you to Mom for being so supportive and encouraging to take initiative as well. Just a quick review, our high school choice numbers came in December. The results, we had 85% of our students choose Warwick, 8.5% choose Chester, and 6% chose other. So that's either a private high school or they're moving out of district after this year. High school reports, Mrs. Connolly.
Well, I echo a happy new year to everyone. At the elementary school, as we kick off 2023, all of our teachers are actively completing mid-year reading and math benchmark assessments, and this data will be reviewed and analyzed at grade level meetings and by our district data team to target areas of need and inform instruction for the remainder of the school year. January is PBIS target skill is goal setting. And like so many of us, the elementary students are reflecting on what they want to achieve this year and will get support from their teachers and our guidance counselor, Ms. Van Kuren, on identifying the actions that they will need to take in order to make their goal a reality. At this halfway point in the academic school year and with their recent assessments in mind, many students have set goals to see improvements in their math fact fluency, make gains in their reading levels, and to become more organized with their school materials and homework completion. I've joined the movement as well and have set a goal of engaging parents more in our intervention efforts, and we'll meet with my first group this Thursday to share how they can help reinforce our decoding strategies when reading with their child and how they can support fluency by practicing specific items that were identified for their child as not yet mastered. And speaking of informing instruction, last Thursday, all teachers participated in a PLC where they had the opportunity to observe a grade level demo lesson presented by Peggy Golden, who is a Great Minds Eureka math consultant who is partnering with our district to review the application of Singapore math strategies within Engage New York math modules. And after seeing the lesson, grade level meetings were held where teachers reflected on what they observed, discussed student learning and exit tickets, and were able to ask questions in order to further advance the creation and execution of highly effective lessons. And lastly, we're all looking forward to seeing student projects and classroom contributions at this week's STEAM Fair on Thursday evening, and we'll enjoy watching our staff take on the Harlem Wizards at next week's community basketball game on Tuesday evening. I encourage everyone to come out for these fun events that unify us as a district. And that is it from the elementary school for the month of January. Thank you.
Good evening. Since we met at our last meeting, we did have our winter concerts here at the middle school. And thank you to Mrs. Kroll and Mr. Compton for a great evening for our 4-5 and our 6-8 concerts. We celebrated our honor roll and high honor roll students, as well as those students with perfect attendance for the first quarter. Traditionally, we celebrate those students at the end of the year with our honor roll breakfast, which we'll still do in June. But we wanted to acknowledge students in their hard work quarterly throughout the year. That was very well received by the students. Also, a picture up there in the middle, that's our inaugural group of peer leadership students that went through a weekend training here at the middle school, and they will be rolling out additional trainings to other grade levels here at the school. Also kicking off the new year, that's DP on the left up there from the Harlem Wizards, was here to promote our PTA event. That is on the 24th, and tickets are currently on sale, and that's going to be a wonderful community event. As Mrs. Connolly mentioned, the STEAM Fair is this Thursday at 6 p.m., and that's a K-8 initiative. Looking forward to seeing all the students work here that evening. The end of the second quarter is on the 26th, coming up fast, and the winter dance will be that Friday on the 27th. And welcoming back this year, a great Greenwood Lake event will be the district-wide pep rally will happen during the school day here on February 3rd at 12:45. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal. principals, always a very busy time of year for us. At this time, I wanted to turn the board's attention to a presentation, just a discussion about universal pre-kindergarten and what that might look like in our district, and just giving a little bit of background. We've been studying some student data over the last few months on how our students are performing. Just a review of that. We are seeing students as they come in year to year. We screen them all with a kindergarten screener called the Dial 4, and we are seeing those scores kind of trend down over time. We did have a high in 2020, but that was a year that we had very few students due to COVID. It wasn't a typical year. A lot of parents kept their kids back. But overall, the scale score of students coming in terms of being prepared for kindergarten is lessening over time. In addition, there are some qualitative observations from teachers about needs that students have as they're coming into kindergarten. They have less independent problem-solving skills. They're not able to advocate for themselves as well as they have in the past, in controlling their emotions. They tend to have heightened emotional reactions to things, attention-seeking behaviors, and they struggle in some conversation skills. We think part of that is due to COVID and the isolation of COVID, but also just a general trend of society where there's less interaction. There's more at-home technology, one-on-one, less interactions out in the community. In terms of specific skill deficits, not tied to social-emotional learning needs, a lot of our students don't recognize their own name when they see it. They're unable to write their name. Typically, students could, in the past, would come in and at least recognize the uppercase letters. We're seeing less of that. Self-help skills, the problem-solving skills, and then the fine motor skills, right? So pencil grasp, cutting, writing, painting. So how do we address those gaps? So we do a lot of what's called intervention, and that's kind of, you already see a gap, and work to try to fill those holes. So within our K-8 program, we have RTI, which is response to intervention. So we identify students that have gaps and we work with them either on a daily or an every other daily basis. We have tutoring that occurs both before school and after school, depending on the grade level in the school building. And then teachers hold small group instruction as well within their regular classroom day. We've also tried to think of some proactive approaches, right? So we definitely, if we identify gaps once they're here, that's great, but we also want to try to prevent gaps from even happening. So a proactive approach that we've implemented the last few years has been called Bridging to Kindergarten. It is a summer program that we use. We take the screener from the spring on the Dial 4, and we identify students specifically that have needs, and we invite them to a summer learning program. We started with a longer program and found that a lot of students didn't attend it, so we shortened the program. I think it's about 2 or 3 weeks at this point for half a day, a few hours, just to get them coming in, getting used to school and starting to learn some of those soft skills and some of those academic skills so that they're a little bit more ready for kindergarten coming in. Just briefly looking at the data, the Bridging to Kindergarten program is making a difference. We do before and after tests, where they're called pre and post tests, to see gains. So even in that short term, we see increases over time. So just one small example, beginning lowercase levels, how many lowercase letters that they knew. At the end of the program, how many lowercase levels that they knew. So average of 8 to an average of 12, was an average of 3.3 additional letters just in that couple of weeks. So that we did lowercase letters, uppercase letters, beginning sounds, end sounds, number recognition, etc. So as we look at that, we start to think about, our brief Bridging to Kindergarten program definitely makes a difference, but how can we expand on that? How can we build on that and meet the needs of our students? So one of the things we're looking at is our incoming kindergartners attending pre-K programs. So as many people know, we have a wonderful pre-K program here in town called Little Buddies. Any student that attends Little Buddies enters kindergarten very well prepared. They can recognize their name, they can write their name, they know their letters, they know their sounds. The Little Buddies program is 3 times per week for 2.5 hours, and they have an additional optional 2 times per week to half-hour program. The program is aligned to the Green Lake curriculum in that we have shared multiple resources with them, and we've worked with them and have conversations with them each year about students. They always ask, what do you see the kids need? We tell them, they incorporate those skills, and it's been a wonderful partnership with them over the years. In terms of what percentage of students are attending that program, this is the current kindergartners, the current first graders, and the current second graders when they were at pre-K, right? So our current kindergarten class, 48% of those students attended Little Buddies. In our current second grade class, 42% of those students attended Little Buddies preschool. Our current first graders, 23%. And that first grade group, again, is that lower group. But then we have students that aren't attending any pre-K at all. And if you look at those numbers, it ranges from 6% of the current second graders to 20% of the current kindergartners, 36% of our current first graders. So we do have a good chunk, up to a third of our students that aren't attending any pre-K program. And then we have also a very large chunk of students that are attending pre-K somewhere else. So they are in a pre-K, but it's not at the pre-K town. They're going, outside of our district. And that ranges from 31% to 50% of our students. So we know our program, but we don't know what not our program. We know Little Buddies program, but we don't know what programs other kids are attending, what their program looks like. At the same time that we've been looking at this data and noticing these trends over time, New York State has had a universal push for a universal pre-K program. My apologies. There was a federal grant that began during the 21-22 school year, and that's when we began having internal conversations and we began reaching out to local providers about the potential upcoming mandates of having a pre-K program. Since then, we have had to submit documentation each year that we would not be utilizing the funds of the grant. Currently, during the 22-23 school year, 87% of New York State districts have a universal pre-K program. The expectation from the state is that 95% of districts have it in place by next year, and a full 100% of districts by the 24-25 school year. The state is giving every indication that UPK will be mandated. Currently, every school district in Orange County offers a universal pre-K experience except for Greenwood Lake. Cost. So cost is, and with any program, is always a question, right? So the federal grant starts at $108,000, and that's if you have a program with 20 students in it. The state funding for pre-K is based on the usage of that federal UPK money. So since we have not used the federal money, the state has not allocated us any additional funds. So other districts, though, are receiving funding increases year to year. They are receiving federal increases and they are receiving state increases year to year to offset the cost of that program. I did have a meeting with the New York State Early Learning Office in December because they sent me another letter asking, as well as Senator Skoufis sent me a letter asking about whether we will be implementing or not. So I attended a meeting with them, and they wanted me to receive the clear message that there's no guarantee of state funding being added once the federal money stops, which means that if UPK becomes mandated, we may not get any grant money to offset that cost. So in order to minimize the budget impact, in my opinion, the district must start a UPK program while that partial funding is available through grants. Otherwise, it is very possible that the full cost would fall entirely to the taxpayer once it's mandated. Why is pre-K so important? So the reason why there's such a push across the nation and in New York State is because it addresses so many of those skills and deficits that I just talked about that we're seeing in our current kindergartners and first graders and second graders as they come in. So pre-K promotes curiosity and encourages students to ask questions and solve problems through purposeful play. There's actually times set a day, not just at recess, but there's other times during the day set aside to play in the classroom and learn how to work together. They're able to try new things in a safe environment that's outside of their home. They learn how to take turns and listen without interrupting. They learn how to follow directions and work together, and learn how to manage and express emotions in an appropriate way. They also may be learning for the first time how to wash their hands, how to eat for themselves, how to keep their personal belongings organized. There's also the physical coordination. They'll be able to attend a PE class, the fine motor skills of painting, coloring, drawing, working on control of their fingers and hands. Those are skills that they may not be learning at home. I wanted to point out just kind of two pieces of research related to early childhood and learning that I think are key to why a pre-K experience is so important. This one really hit me. Studies show that students who attend pre-K are 3 times more likely to be proficient readers in 3rd grade. The proficiency in 3rd grade determines long-term success in terms of high school graduation, grades, etc. So pre-K affects 3rd grade determines high school. So the quicker we can get kids in and using these skills, the more likely we are to ensure their long-term success in school. And another one that I thought was really important to share is that 90% of a child's brain is developed by the time they reach 6 years old. So we have some kids coming into kindergarten already at age 6, and their brain is already fully developed. So this is the time. Giving 4-year-olds rich, fun learning opportunities that stimulates their brains and builds their mental foundation for their entire future. In terms of next steps, as a district, we would need to send out an RFP for state-registered pre-K providers. Minimally 10% of our grant money must go to a pre-K provider if they were to apply and respond to the RFP. An RFP is a request for proposals. There are no registered pre-K providers currently in Greenwood Lake, but an outside agency could apply. If there are no takers, then the district can use 100% of the funds to support our intern program. I think we need to begin to promote the importance of pre-K and give details on what a UPK program would look like. Our goal is to serve all incoming students between the district UPK and the Little Buddies program through a dovetail through a partnership. The district UPK would be lottery-based. However, we will be promoting it and targeting families who may not otherwise send their child to a pre-K program. If you think back to that slide of the students that aren't attending a pre-K or attending outside of district, those are the families we really want to bring into Greenwood Lake. Our UPK program would be 5 days a week and closely follow our regular school day in our building. As we begin budget discussions, we should look at budgeting for a UPK program for the 23-24 school year. At this point, I think 1 class of students is the appropriate number, and a UPK program can hold up to 20 students. So in our current kindergarten class, where we have 55 students, that would leave 35 students not served by our UPK, which would be able to attend other pre-K programs in Greenwood Lake, such as Little Buddies, or elsewhere outside of district. Any questions or comments from the board at this time?
So the funds for the increase on the funding, is that based on an increase in enrollment, or just the number of years you have the UPK? So let's say we keep the 20, we have it for 2 years, will they still increase the funding?
So say that again. You're asking how do they determine the increase in funding?
Yes.
It's the use of the funding. So for example, the $108,000 is based on whether we have all 20 students. So if we have a program with all 20 students and they say that we have 55, they may increase, but that we spent, let's say that's 108 and we spent $150,000 total on the program, they may increase our funding to try to match that to try to support our current program. Or they may say, this is hard for us because we're such a small district, but a district that's larger that gets funding for 1 class. 2 classes might only, for us, would be almost all, it would be 2/3 of the kids, but in another district it might be just 2 classes out of 10 classes. So, but they would And if we weren't to use all 20 spaces, and we were only use 18 spaces, let's say, they would give us less money potentially. So I know they do it based on usage and how many students we have enrolled in the UPK program.
The lottery system, is every student of age automatically enrolled, or would you have to submit them the lottery?
So parents would have to sign up for the lottery. So that's where the outreach would come in. We already have the names of siblings, for example, of current students that we know are coming. And when students register, a parent tells us how old their siblings are and their birth date, and then we can reach out to them as they become of age. So similar to kindergarten registration, parents would register for the UPK lottery, then we would hold the lottery and draw names, and then notify those parents that they were chosen.
I just have a quick question. What happens if we don't have enough kids to attend? Do we lose the funding? So say we put it out for 20 students and we only get 10. Do we move forward with 10?
So if that would be up to the board, with the district and the Board of Education, there would be less funding. So the $108,000 is based on enrolling all 20 students. If 18 students enrolled, you would get that percentage less of the full funding. So if we were to go out and ask for registrations and only 5 families registered, at that point it would be a conversation that only 5 families registered. There doesn't seem to be a need or a desire to have the program, and we could right to stay at that point. Thank you.
It says that they're indicating mandate. How are they indicating that there's going to be mandate? Are they actually saying that we're going to mandate this eventually, or is it just based on the moves that they're making?
So it's based on the moves that they're making that are similar to other moves with other things that became mandated, right? So that if you were to Google unfunded mandates New York State, you would come up with pages and pages and pages of things. Things that we have to do, they don't give us any money for. So with UPK, they were trying to fund it before they mandate it. They're trying to not make this an unfunded mandate by giving us the grant money. Or that probably only partially answers your question.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're not saying that, yeah.
Right, they're not saying right now that it's mandated, but all directions are pointing that. If you look at Hochul's initiatives, if you look at the state senate and legislature and what the funding that they're discussing, if you look at the rules that are coming out, it's similar to other things that have become mandates in the past.
And Scopus is reaching out to you, pushing.
Yes, I was contacted by his office in December.
And if you look at the governor's State of the Union, it's real, but it's coming. Yeah, I mean, Hochul made it kind of, during her State of the State, she mentioned that this was something she really wanted to have. And we already have a legislative program. Reaching out, yeah. I think we gotta recognize it.
That's my presentation for today. Thank you for your time.
Liaison reports.
Just for a time, a couple of things. Where I sent some out. Region exams are scheduled. Any child in Warwick Valley High School taking the region exams. The mid-year regions are scheduled for January 24th to the 27th. So just a reminder to all parents. On January 26th, the guidance office at Warwick Valley High School is hosting a scholarship information night for all seniors. This is only for the class of 2023. It's an informative meeting for all students. They will be giving out information how to obtain scholarships for your child. They're really promoting the scholarship season at the high school right now. Any parents interested in attending, January 26th. And they recommend that all seniors bring their Chromebooks while they're at the meeting.
Ms. AXPA liaison.
Nothing really, just advocacy that is what it's holding with the legislators. If you're curious to see what they're advocating about, you can go to this website and type in proposed resolutions. That's all public, has a list of all the stuff that they're going to be advocating for in legislation.
Thank you, Michelle. AXPA liaison, Michael.
It's kind of the same thing. The meeting we had last Wednesday, it was really what Oxford is going to push for their legislative priorities. And honestly, out of the whole discussion, the major issue was the electric busing and what the district is going to do about that. Everyone is super concerned about this mandate that's coming up and how districts are going to find money to fund this. It's a major, major problem. It's going to be the major issue moving forward, especially because it's supposed to roll out pretty soon. And nobody's very happy about it because there's just no money. The money is going to be very hard to find. I mean, these buses are very expensive. Infrastructure, we've had discussions. It's a lot. They also want to somehow work and advocate for more flexibility for districts to determine what their needs are and how to spend money instead of being mandated how to spend money. COVID is a good example of this. They have COVID money, but they're very vague about how you can use it and what is able to be spent on. And so unfortunately, there's money floating around that people can't use, and it's a problem. So that was really what came out of it, and stay tuned for that because I'm sure that we're going to hear a lot more about it.
Okay.
So just another initiative that I know that's at NISBA and AXPA, and it's also the superintendent's council meetings, is Meals for All. So that's another big push across the state. Is during COVID, there were free meals for all students, and that has been a big push to continue that, to end hunger, and make sure that all students get 2 meals a day as they attend school. So that's been another initiative that should be looked at busing.
I think I mentioned that before. So if you want to contact your legislator and let them know that you appreciate their efforts in advocating for that, I strongly suggest you do.
As far as the electric buses, has anyone done that yet? Any district?
So there are districts that have received funding and grants to do electric busing early. I was talking, I want to say Montiora, I was in a superintendent's meeting last month, and she was talking about how she got this money, and they have to switch now, basically. And they're doing these test sites around the state to see how it works, how does the charging work, what happens when you're on a field trip somewhere, is there a charging point, so that they can get back to district, can they do their runs, what happens if you get stuck in traffic, can the road, what does damage do to the roads. So they're doing those studies now in anticipation of the requirement coming. I personally, I don't know if they're going to be able to mandate it when they say they're going to mandate it. I think it's just too much, but who knows?
A lot of concerns, and there's things things you wouldn't even think of, which are presenting problems. That's a perfect example of like, what are these, because these buses weigh a lot more than a normal bus. What is the picture of the roads that you drive on? There was a firefighter from the district, and he's like, these things go up all the time. He's like, their fires are hard to put out. And how do you deal with that? Do you have the people in place? Do you have, a lot of our agencies are volunteer-based. Are they getting the proper training for this? Are they prepared? It's things that you're not even thinking about, and it costs us an issue.
And then mechanics.
And then exactly fixing a bus that breaks, right? If it goes out of commission, it's not like a diesel bus where you can just get another muffler and put it, I don't know. Like if something breaks, it's going to take weeks to fix it. I mean, what are you're going to have, not only is this almost twice the cost per bus, but then the parts are going to be more expensive. It's going to take time to get the parts in. And how many extra buses are we going to have to buy to make sure that we get the kids to school every night? There's just, as we said, there's a 100, it's not just moving to electric, it's not that easy. Charging, like even space to charge here in our bus garage, it's very difficult. So we'll see.
Thank you, Michael. Facilities Committee.
The last big ticket item for the elementary school, the flashing around the roller door between the cafeteria and kitchen was finally fixed. And so pretty much it's all just small ticket items that we have to worry about with that. And most of the doors, or maybe not all the doors, are in for the Smart Lawn project. And those are going to start to be installed hopefully over February break, if not February, during spring break in April.
Thank you. Audit Committee. Does it matter? Budget Committee.
I was just about to start going through. So, more to say next week, but we have one workshop so far, sort of set things up, and we'll start meetings more frequently now the next couple of weeks.
Policy Committee. No, nobody got it? PTSA, anybody from PTSA?
We're having a meeting right now.
Village of Green Lake, I know Nancy sent a statement.
The Village of Greenwood Lake is meeting tonight. So Nancy Clifton was unable to be here. 3 things that she wanted to share with the board and the community. The village board meetings will now be streamed live. The village received a grant to update its technology, and the installation was completed. So it actually is being live streamed officially as of tonight. They are working hard in the centennial. The first event will be Founders Day, which will be in March 2024. And on March 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at the Senior Center, a Greenwood Lake Centennial meeting will be held for organizations and businesses, for anyone interested in attending. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Correspondence to the board. Madam Mayor? Public statements and petitions. Village of the floor. Ms. Trump.
Okay. Thank you for your presentation, Sarah. I have one question before I even start, because I might just if the UPK is mandated, does the grant go away? The money. If UPK gets mandated, is the grant money? Does the grant money go away? So once it's mandated, does the district still get grant money? Because that would make things a little different. You know, that is considered.
Sorry, I just need to ask permission to answer.
Oh,
questions.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. You gave me permission.
Okay. Maybe, whoever knows the answer, I don't know.
So no, their intent is to have a UPK funding line in the money that we get every year, and in the aid that we get. So we get aid every year, and it's allocated to different things. So
You don't know if you'll be getting the grant. That's different?
So the federal grant is one set of money, and then there's state aid money. So right now, the state aid money is dependent on usage of the federal grant. So once the federal grant goes away, then there's just the state aid. And the federal grant, government may re-up it, we don't know.
Yeah.
But then there's the state funding that they are using to dovetail and eventually take over the cost. So it's a replacement, right, of the federal money. And
Excuse me, is the federal money that 108,000?
Yes. Yeah. And then the grant money, the state aid money for UPK would be a line that we get each year. So that would not go away.
In my terms, the federal grant money, that people are getting now would go away, meaning that the state aid would help, since the federal money of 108 wouldn't be there anymore. Do I have that right?
Yes, so the state has been increasing their funds to try to match the federal grant money and then exceed it. So that when the federal grant money goes away, if it goes away, which it's scheduled to do, then there's the state money there to replace it.
All right, so I think I just work better if I read, because I know I'm only allowed to speak for a certain amount of time, but Sarah, you did hit on a bunch of my questions, so it might be shorter, so just bear with me. I'm a little nervous. I just want everybody to know that Sarah and I spoke last week, which was wonderful. I left the meeting. It was an informative meeting, but I left the meeting a little bit saddened. And this is where I really want to talk to the board. Because when I left Sarah, I really do think that you're going to vote yes to place the UPK program in the district. And this program, as you know, has the potential to negatively impact little buddies. I don't want to be put out of business, as I not only have employees, but I also support Grace Lutheran Church and a business that I love and cannot bear to lose. I know you know Karen and I started Little Buddies over 25 years ago, and we've educated hundreds of children from the community. We know they're prepared, you know they're prepared, that's not the issue. But I'm here to address the board because after my meeting with Sarah, I needed to know how you, the school board, felt about the UPK, because ultimately it is up to you to decide if it will be placed in our district or not. And as a business owner and a taxpayer, I think it's important you hear from more than just Sarah, only because you're giving her the information from the state down. In that meeting, Sarah said that it would be financially irresponsible if she did not put the UPK in the district this September. She said the state would not be giving the district any more grant money if the UPK was not put in place this year. This is where I think our perspectives about being financially irresponsible are a little different. So please just bear with me a moment while I try to explain my perspective, and then I hope you'll let me ask my questions to all of you on the board. I just need to get my water. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Now, the Greenland Lake School District has not taken any of the grant money the last 3 years. You've sent it back with a letter explaining to the state that there is a preschool program in town, so you don't need a UPK program. Nothing has changed with that because Little Buddies is still here. So it's my understanding that you, as a board, feel it should go in because the grant money of $108,000 will not be available in the future. Is this lack of grant money putting pressure on you to accept it, even though the reason we don't have it is because we don't need one, as it's been declared to the state the last 3 years? The UPK program is not state mandated. You have no idea when and if it will ever be mandated, and I understand what you said, that it looks like the state's going to do it because that's what they say, but there is no proof that that could happen. You haven't accepted the grant money in the past because you stated we don't need it. Why not just wait until it's mandated? There could be a potential tax increase if it goes in this year and every year thereafter to support the program that you've stated over and over that is not needed. If it goes in this year, we as taxpayers will be going from paying nothing for a program we don't need to paying for a program we still don't need. Now you might say, because, let me go back. So, the only way, in my eyes, you will be financially irresponsible is if you put the UPK in the district without asking the community if they want it. So that brings me to the next question. Will you, the school board, be asking the community if they want to put a UPK program in the district? You are our elected representatives, and I am sure you would like to do your due diligence to find out what they want before you vote. Everyone here is more than aware that the community did not want one 6 years ago. Can I ask you that of the board? Does anybody have an answer? Will you be asking the community school board? Okay,
We're exploring all our options at
So my next question is, if they do not want a UPK in the district, will you still vote yes to put the UPK in?
Same thing.
Oh, everybody has a nice little statement.
We're exploring it all.
Everybody's going to be exploring.
I will be honest, and I am an elected official, I take my directive from the community.
Okay, so I'll have one vote at least to say that if the community comes here and they don't want it, that Michelle will vote with the community. The rest, we don't know. Okay, I have another question. Sarah did put up on there that there are a percentage of people, children, that could use some extra help. And she does have a bridging program that they use, and you're saying it is successful. Now, where I get a little bit confused, and I'm hoping maybe the board can answer, is that if the 20 to 30%, I think that you had stated, are scoring lower, you want to reach those others because they're not coming to Little Buddies and they're not going elsewhere. Now, the way I understand it, the UPK is set up randomly. So if a family comes in, signs up their child for kindergarten, and says, oh, by the way, I have a preschooler, can you put my name in? They'll put their name in. Now, we don't know their needs as a 4-year-old. We don't know their financial background. You can't ask any of that. So now their name is in there. And then you have 20 other children that might sign up. We don't know their needs. You randomly pick a name out of a hat or something. How are you going to reach those children that have that need? It's a random UPK. I understand everybody wants their needs to be met, but I don't understand how a random UPK choosing can help those others that aren't going somewhere. You can't guarantee that the UPK is going to do that, can you? We're looking into it. Am I right, Matt? Okay. Well, let me see what I got here. Have you looked into the success of the neighboring ones? Has anybody gone out there and find out if Warwick's work? Come on, somebody. Okay, well, I talk to people. Maybe you should talk to people because it's not working. The parents are not happy. I'm just going to tell you right now, I've got a student come to my school because that student went there and the mom was not happy with things. So I'm just asking you, I know everything's going to be looked into. I'm just asking you to do some looking into it before you say, oh, we're going to lose $108,000, we better put it in. I don't know, sometimes when you talk about wanting to help everybody and then all of a sudden now you're missing that $108,000, all of a sudden all that matters is the money. I'm sorry, that's what it sounds like because nobody cares to answer me. Everybody's just saying well, no, not everybody's, nobody's saying anything. I'm just going to go on. Okay, let's see what my other question is. You haven't looked. If you have, you're not going to tell me anyway. You don't know if they're better prepared going into kindergarten. I say, I know a 2.5 program works. Do you know if a 6-hour program works? Have you been with a 4-year-old for 6 hours? Okay. This might be a question you can answer because it might be something that, you know. Is there a minimum number of children required by the state to put a UPK in place and then maintain it year after year? I think, John, you asked that if you have less than 18. That would be a conversation for your board, am I right? Matt's shaking his head. Okay. And you answered the question, I think, Sarah. I said, how will the parents be notified that their child is eligible to enter the lottery and when will that happen? I think, Sarah, you said when they sign up for kindergarten. Okay, so I have another question. If you don't have a child entering kindergarten, but you have a 4-year-old, how are you going to reach that person to let them know that the lottery is available to them? Can Sarah answer?
So it would be a universal, just like we do with kindergarten, it would go into the paper, we would send information out to families, it would be in our district newsletter or a flyer on our website, on our Facebook page, etc. So it's not just when they come in for kindergarten. My point about coming into kindergarten is...
That's one spot. Yeah.
Different. Right.
Gotcha. Okay, maybe you know this. Where will the UPK reside? Going in September, if you plan on going, I think you would know.
We're preparing for that.
You're preparing for that.
We prepare for everything.
will it be discussed?
We have discussed and we continue to discuss.
Okay, I'm just going to ask the question, and I know I'm not going to get an answer, but, so will it be in the elementary school, the middle school, or a building off-site? And how will the cost of renting or buying a building to house the UPK affect the budget if that is what happens?
So the district is exploring all its current spaces.
Okay, thank you. My program at Little Buddies costs less than $17 a day, and the only one paying for that are the parents of the children coming to Little Buddies. How much will it cost to educate the 18-20 UPK students to attend the 6-hour program? And that amount of money will be the responsibility of all the Greenville Lake taxpayers, whether they have a 4-year-old in the program or not. You don't have to answer me, I know you're looking into that. Okay, so this is something I'm going to say because I thought you guys would really be interested in this. But anyway, I'm going to say it. The state has not mandated the UPK program, and until it does, I don't think the community needs it or is willing to pay for it. I plead with you to ask them before you take a vote. And if you can't answer these questions now that I've just asked, then just think about them before you decide the future of the UPK. Don't let the state and its pressure decide the fate of this community and or the fate of Little Buddies Preschool. Thank you very much for me speaking here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Anybody else? Privilege of the floor? Ann?
Okay, I have two things I wanted to address. In the elementary school, they had started the COVID. Let me just get it. They had started the pickup line, the driver pickup line on the other side of the building. I don't know why I didn't use it earlier. I did it until 2 weeks before it was taken away. I get it, it's a convenience, it's not a necessity. But now, the front of the building is a mess. The parking is ridiculous. You can't get a parking spot unless you're 15 minutes early. And then we have cars going in to the right, which is the one way, so they're not supposed to, but they don't care. They want to get a spot, they want to get their kid. I get it, but it's a safety hazard at this point. The amount of people who are picking up their children instead of putting them on the bus is insane. I'm a walker. My son is a walker. I can't do anything about it, and I have no choice. So I just want to address that this is a safety issue. I get there was some kind of safety issue that we had to move the buses back. I don't understand that. I'm there. I'm there every day. I don't know what that safety issue entailed. I didn't see it. So that's one thing I just need you to look into, because safety hazard. Questions about the UPK, because it will affect me. I get you said you don't know where it's going, but like Ms. Tony said, location matters. Are you busing them to the middle school? My 4-year-old gets on a bus with K through 8, or I'm sorry, 4 through 8. That's not ideal. So like she said, there's a lot more you have to put into this. Is the state funding, I go back real quick to the question. The state funding, after it gets put into the school, does the state funding stay throughout? The federal grant goes away possibly, but the state funding stays for the UPK program, or is that just a part of it? I'm not sure if I'm asking the right way.
So when we get state aid, I don't know how to describe it, we get a sheet and it says, here's your total amount. And then it says, this much is allocated, this textbooks, you get this much money.
Maybe, let me ask, maybe I didn't ask it the right way, and it might be easier if I ask.
And then there'll be a UPK.
Is it extra? Is there going to be extra allocated to the UPK program as it gets bigger if it does? It's not going to get taken away and then just be put on the taxpayers, basically.
Correct.
Okay. Again, this affects me. I don't want my kids sitting in school for 6 hours. I get there's a push for it for the children that don't attend any pre-K, and this lottery doesn't work because now you put this lottery out, these 20 people put their name in, my name doesn't get picked, Little Buddies is gone. Not because not because you don't like them, but they're gone. Now I have to drive to somewhere else to find a program for my son when there's one that you have said works. So I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think UPK is the answer right now. And like Ms. Tony said, there's a lot more work. I don't think September is the right time for it. There are too many questions, there are too many different things, and why not wait? Like Ms. Tony said, is it about the money? If it's not about the money, let's wait till it's mandated, and then we have no leg to stand on. But right now, and it has nothing to do with Little Buddies per se, any UPK program or preschool program, you're taking them from this different, my kid went through kindergarten, it sucked. I'm not gonna lie to you. It has changed tremendously, the program, and I get it, it's because of the state, and we have to hit these benchmarks, but he didn't have the kindergarten experience Joshua had. He had work, play, the little bit of play, and everything else. So I'm just saying, I don't think right now is the right time. I think we're pushing these kids so hard, and I get they have to hit these benchmarks, but it's age-appropriate benchmarks. A 4-year-old can't sit in a chair. And I know you're going to say, not you per se, but they'll say, we're going to figure it out, and I'm not willing to have my kid as the guinea pig while we figure it out. We have to know for sure that this is going to work and how it's going to work and where it's going to be housed. I don't think September is the right time because these little kids we're talking about. There's a lot more information, and I get there's a lot of information you're not sharing, but at the same time, I think it's a little bit too soon of a push for this.
So just to speak to two things that you mentioned. One, the conversation has been ongoing. The federal grant money started 3 years ago, and it has been an ongoing conversation on the hows of what has been ongoing for 3 years now. We're not deciding this 2 weeks ago. Second, in terms of when I talk about mandated pre-K, it's never going to be mandated, I won't say never, but I'll share why I say never. It's not going to be mandated that all 4-year-olds attend pre-K. That's not it. It's going to be mandated that districts offer it. So age that students are required to attend school is age 6. So even kindergarten is not mandated for families if they don't want to send their child to kindergarten. When what's called compulsory age is age 6, and that's when a child must start attending school on a daily basis. So this will never be mandated for anybody. If you don't want to send your child, you would not.
Oh no, I want to send my kids to pre-K. I just don't want to send them into a building for 6 hours. So I'm just my thing is, if we go ahead with this because of the money, because of the mandate, whatever the case, we're not hitting everybody. So you're not hitting those kids that you needed. My kid's going to learn here, he's going to learn there. You're not hitting the kids, the parents that don't want to send them, that don't care to send them, whether it's for money reasons, for school reasons. So I don't think mandating or doing this universal pre-K is going to hit the ones you did, because the only way it does is if you select those children. And then that's unfair if you call it a lottery, and we're only picking the kids that we need, based off of their family, as far as knowing how their siblings are. That's all. Just like I said, and I get you've been researching this isn't the first time we've heard it, but I think the emotional part of it has to be looked at a little bit more than the statistics and the money and all of that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else?
My question is just, why would you not ask the taxpayers? What would be the reasoning that you wouldn't ask them if they want UPK? Because they've already said they haven't wanted it in the past, and is there like a reason why you would put it in without asking them? What benefit is that to put in a program that the town doesn't want? Who does that benefit? So you will ask the town. So you think it's a good idea to ask the taxpayers if they want UPK? It will go to a
That's
vote.
all part of it, let's say, we're exploring other options. Talking to the public, getting all the information together. No one wants to put little
take my experience with Little Buddies out of it. As someone who pays taxes, I think it should be transparent if something is coming in or not. If you go out and everyone says, yeah, let's get you PK, then there's your answer. No one's going to fight. I can tell you this right now. No one's going to fight something that my mother is not going to fight anything that will benefit these kids. All she cares about are these kids. And if what matters is that these kids hit the benchmarks, then she will work with you to have the kids hit the benchmarks. But as you've seen from other moms, it's not needed, or the town might not want it. So all I'm saying is perhaps the best thing you could do as someone who needs the town's opinion, who should get the town's opinion, is to just get the town's opinion before you put in a program. And if a program's supposed to be put in September, I don't know how things work, but that seems pretty soon. I have preschool-age children, and if I had a preschool-age child, I would want to know what all my options would be for September now. I need to know where I would send my preschool-age child in September now. So the town should know by months in advance of whether this is an option or not. And if no one's going to ask the town what they want, how do these parents know that they can send their kids somewhere in September? And just like she said, if you put this in and it comes through and next year you have another town, all of these other parents won't have Little Buddies to go to. That's another point. But I'm saying it makes sense to ask the town what they want, because they might not want it, and then put the money towards electric busing.
I just wanted clarification on it. Maybe I'm confused here.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go.
So my question is, as the federal funding goes away, the state is going to match that funding? Is that what they're saying? Like they're guaranteeing matching that funding?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And then
It's replacing, the federal government started it. It's kind of like yes, the federal government started, and then the state matches it. The federal goes away, and then the state has it.
okay, so right now the state is just supplementing.
It depends on the district and when they initiated the program and how big they are and how many classes. Like, it's all relevant, right? So like districts like us that didn't use it, we're not getting any money from the state. Districts that use it and added a second class or a third class or a fourth class are getting more and more funding. So they might now be surpassing what the federal government gave them.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to say a couple of things. As the registrar of the district, I do have a lot of phone calls from families asking if we are going to have universal pre-K. There are a lot of new families in the district. I do always recommend Little Buddies because that's where my kids went and I love them. But there are families that are looking for this, and they are constantly saying that we are the only district in Orange County that is not offering it, and they'd like to know why. And the other thing, the only question I have is like, why are we saying that Little Buddies is going to go away? We're only talking about 20 kids. Our kindergarten class is 55 to 60 kids. Little Buddies would always have somebody. I mean, I don't see them going away, you know? I just wanted to say that. And also, kindergarten registration is March 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Am I allowed to talk again or no?
Give her a shot, come on, Matt.
If you would like to answer her question.
Yes. Teresa, thank you for, I don't, they can hear me. It's a small town, everybody knows that. Teresa's right. She does recommend us, and we have gotten some children. And I just want to answer your question. Well, it really wasn't a question. What you said,
about the UPK. I, as my daughter had stated too, and I know a couple of you up there know, that I would love to have everybody have the same education that they get at Little Buddies, 100%. But the way the UPK is set up, it's random. If I knew that Joe Smith over there needed to come for 6 hours, I don't know why a 4-year-old would want to, but, or couldn't come to me, just, I don't know, for whatever reason, wanted to go to UPK, then that child would be chosen. But the way it's set up, we can't guarantee that those needs are going to be met. So until the UPK is set up to say, okay, this person needs it, I don't see how it helps those people that we're trying to help. And that's really the main thing. I would love to help everybody, but until the UPK can do that, I don't see it working. And plus, Teresa, it will. What if my kids' parents now say, okay, it's free. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm going to go there. What if randomly, I don't know the odds of it, maybe statistically Sarah could figure it out, but say I get 18 children this year. What if, I don't know if they will, but what if all 18 sign up for this UPK? Now, all my 18 kids are gone. I will be out of business. So that's what I'm trying to say. It will affect me. I just wish it was set up differently. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have that list of
As most everybody here knows, I'm going to be running for mayor of Green Bay. So at this time, I am announcing that I'm resigning as board president. And I want to thank everybody, Sarah, Mary, principals, teachers, admin, everybody. You know, thank you for putting your support behind me and letting me be president of the school. I appreciate it. At this point, motion to accept, I don't know if it's regret or not, resignation of me from office of president of the Freeman Lake School Board of Education as presented. Motion, please. Dave, second Patty. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Matt Buckley.
Election of president.
Yep, so at this time, I would like to open the floor for nominations for president.
He's resigning effective tomorrow, so he can still do his work. Well, it's a that's just important now to do it, because I always do it.
Yeah.
One president anyway. Oh, sorry.
Nominations are open on the floor for president of the Board of Education. Do I have a nomination? Are there any other nominations for president of Board of Ed? Okay, nominations are closed. May I have a vote for John Thurber for president of the Board of Education? Vote aye. Thank you. So
Congratulations, John. Financial reports and warrants. A motion to approve the...
What's that? Schedule is open.
Okay, take care of it. Sorry.
I do solemnly affirm and declare that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the State of New York. And I will faithfully discharge the duties of President of the Board of Education of the Greenwood Lake Community School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck, Matt.
Yes, thanks. Financial reports and warrants. Motion to approve the financial reports for December 2022 as presented at this meeting. Motion, please. Michelle, second. Aaron, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve Ashokan Youth Empowerment and Sustainability Summit overnight trip. A motion to approve the overnight trip to Ashokan Youth Empowerment and Sustainability Summit as presented. Motion, John, second, Aaron. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approved transportation contract TC0028, Orange County Transit LLC. A motion to approve the transportation contract with Orange County Transit LLC, TC028, as presented, please. Motion. Aaron, second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve school lunch fund budget adjustment. A motion to approve the school lunch fund budget adjustment as presented, please. Motion, Aaron, second, Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve employment assistance program, NextGen. A motion to approve NextGen as employee assistance program provider as presented. Motion, please. Dave, second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve retainer agreement for annual financial audit, Nugent and Hauser, is it? Hauser. A motion to approve retainer agreement for annual financial audit for Nugent and Hauser as presented, please. Mike, second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve Barron Construction Change Order Number 4. A motion to approve Change Order Number 4 for Barone Construction. Aaron, second. John, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Approve Ashcroft Lock and Hardware Purchase. A motion to approve Ashcroft Lock and Hardware Purchase and authorize transfer as presented. Motion, please. John, second, Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Accept school lunch fund donation. A motion to gratefully accept the generous donation from Mrs. Mazer as school lunch fund as presented. Motion, please. Dave, second, Patty. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Mazer.
Yeah. Accept donation General Mills box tops for education. A motion to accept the General Mills box tops for education donation as presented. Motion, Patty. Second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Amend rate of compensation for diem substitute shortage area. A motion to amend the rate of compensation for per diem substitute as presented. Motion, please. Mike, second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Appoint Spanish teacher Rossi. A motion to appoint Amanda Rossi as 7 to 12 Spanish teacher as presented. Motion, please. Mike, second, John. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Congratulations. Approve leave of absence, Brady. A motion to approve the unpaid leave of absence for Eileen Brady as presented, please. Motion, please. Mike, second, Patty. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Accept resignation, Del Vecchio. A motion to accept with regret the resignation of Jennifer Del Vecchio as presented, please. Motion, please. Mike, second. Dave, any discussion? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Appoint certified teacher substitute O'Keefe. A motion to appoint William O'Keefe as a certified teacher substitute as presented, please. Motion, please. Mike, second, Patty. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Accept resignation Murphy. A motion to accept with regret the resignation of Elizabeth Murphy as bus monitor as presented, please. Motion. Mike, second. Michelle, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Accept recommendations of CSE and CPS meetings. A motion to accept the CSE and CPSE recommendations as presented at this meeting, please. Motion, please. John, second, Mike. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. I'm going to enter into exec for the reason negotiations conducted pursuant to the Taylor Law involving the admin and custodial unions. Motion to enter into executive session. Patty, second Mike, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We're now in exec. Thank you, everybody. There will be no action taken after executive meeting. Thank you.